everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trigger Point In. My name is Meg and I'll be leading you through your practice. Today we're going to work on upper body, shoulders, traps, delts. We're going to get into the pecs a little bit. All tension patterns that can occur from, again, seated desk posture, arms forward, medially rotating the arms, bringing the arms close together. This would all also apply to people with a climbing practice, people who do a lot of upper body workouts, people who carry heavy loads, who are always bringing their shoulders up into their ears. All of those sorts of activities. And then that pain in the top line of the shoulder, shoulders forward posture, pain in between the shoulder blades. So we're going to work through some postures, some trigger point exercises for all of that. But before we get started, I want to do some breath work and a mudra today, so some yoga for our hands. And we'll take bronchial mudra. It's a mudra that is associated with strengthening your breath practice. So you're going to take your pinky finger to the base of your thumb, your ring finger to that mid knuckle, and then your middle finger to the pad of your thumb. So you're essentially stacking those three fingers up your thumbs, and then index finger stays extended. And if you are sitting on a cushion or on the ground, cross-legged or kneeling, sitting yourself up nice and tall. If you're sitting in a chair, same thing. Press down through your sit bones, hold your spine up nice and long. And then elbows in towards your sides, letting your elbows rest right underneath your shoulders, rolling the shoulders back, lifting up through your sternum. And then hover your hands about 4 inches above your legs. If you get tired at any point, if your biceps get tired, if your arms get tired, or your shoulders get tired especially, rest your hands down on your legs. But until you feel that, let your hands float up. All right. Soften in your face, soften in your belly. Start to feel your breath moving in your body without changing anything quite yet. And deep breath in together. Big breath out. And inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pause, holding your breath at the top for 3, 2, 1. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath out until you have that urge to breathe in. So scan your body, feel into it, and as soon as you have that urge, breathe in for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold your breath out until you have the urge to breathe in. So again, it's inhale for 7, pause for 5, exhale for 7, and then hold your breath until you need to breathe in. And you'll notice as you continue with this exercise that it'll be easier to hold your breath out for longer. You won't have that urge to breathe in quite as quickly. And then adding on a little bit, as you inhale, draw your attention from bottom to top. So as you inhale, feel sensation move up your body from below the navel, moving up the spine, up through the chest, through the ribs, through the neck, all the way into your head, maybe focusing on your forehead, your third eye, space between the brows. And as you exhale, paying attention from the top down, feeling from the crown of your head, down through your face, down your throat, down through your chest, to your belly, all the way to your pelvic floor. And keep that going just a couple more rounds. Again, inhaling 7, pause for 5, exhale 7, pause until you need to breathe in. And this is a strengthening breath. It helps to strengthen your breath practice and your ability to breathe. 7 is a pretty long count, so extending that inhale and exhale. And if you find that you are out of breath a lot, if you're late a lot, this is a really good breath practice to bring into just a normal practice in your life. I find that I am running late, not necessarily to teach, but I'm always getting out the door a few minutes after I think that I should, or to give myself enough time to make up for Austin traffic. And this breath practice, I don't necessarily hold the mudra while I'm in the car, but helps to slow down my nervous heartbeat when I'm running late, to settle my nervous system, come back to a steady breath, and yeah, again, just like strengthen my ability to breathe. So take one more full round here. Inhale 7, pause 5, exhale 7, pause until you need to take a breath in. And once you take that next breath in, come back to your natural breath, come back to your normal breath. You can wiggle out your fingers, get some movement there in your hands. Rest your hands down on your legs for a moment. And notice what your natural breath cycle feels like now. All right. Then we're going to need a strap to warm up. And we're going to end up coming up onto our knees. So you can start there, coming off any props. Come up onto your knees. And then you're going to hold the strap with your palms facing down. Hands about shoulder width distance apart. And then put some tension in the strap, so you're not pulling it as hard as you possibly can, but you're also not letting it create a U in the middle. Strap down by your legs. Roll the shoulders back. Sternum is lifted, chest is proud. Inhale, arms come up. Biceps might even move back behind the ears. Exhale, arms back down. Again, keeping the chest lifted, not bending in the upper back. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, back down. Keep pulling tension into that strap. Inhale, arms up. Keeping the arms up. Exhale, both arms over to the right. So I'm not doing a side bend here. I'm just pulling my left arm in towards my head. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, other side. Again, keeping the spine long, not taking a side bend here. Tailbone points down, long in the spine. Inhale, back through center, moving on the breath. Exhale, over to the right. Inhale through center. Exhale, over to the left. One more time through inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale back through center. Exhale, bring your strap all the way back down. Keep the tension in all the way down. And then release that strap, and we're going to take it behind our backs. So your thumbs will point away from you, so thumbs pointing out to the side, palms facing your body. And your hands may come all the way together here. You may have that openness across your chest to get your hands all the way together. That's fine. We're still not lacing our hands together. We are going to use the strap here. I'm going to create a little space between my hands and then externally rotate the arm bones. Lift the sternum even more. Point your tailbone down so it's not all that bend isn't going into your lower back. You keep the bend in the upper spine. Then look up. press your knuckles down towards the ground. Breathe into the space you're creating across your chest. One more breath in here. Breath out, start to bow forward, picking the hands up. Forehead taps down. Inhale, come back up. Drag the knuckles down to lift. Tailbone points down, sternum comes up at the top. Exhale, bow. One more, inhale. Exhale. Inhale to come back up. And release that strap. You can roll out your shoulders. Getting some movement there, set the strap aside. All right, and I recommend having both a lacrosse ball and a tennis ball today because we're going to work into the pecs and we're going to be on the rib cage, and the rib cage can be pretty bony, pretty sensitive. So having both available is good, so you can switch to something softer if you want to. So we're going to start in our anterior delt, so the front part of the delt, and in our pec minor. So you have this sort of pocket, right? You have the head of the shoulder, bony part, and then there's this pocket where the rib cage slides back. That is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball. So what that's going to look like is setting up for as if we were going into wishbone pose, but then we're going to not step the foot behind. So I'm going to do my right side first. And if you want to have a blanket or something underneath your head, have that, make yourself comfortable. All right. So arm is going to go straight out to the side rather than being bent at 90 degrees. Arm straight out to the side. Place the lacrosse ball where you want it and then look away from that lacrosse ball. So it's on my right side, but I'm looking to the left, right cheek on the mat. This might be enough pressure for you. If you need more, bring both knees over to the left. And that'll put more pressure onto that lacrosse ball. And then strong breaths into your rib cage. If you were enjoying that, inhale for 7, pause for 5, exhale for 7, hold until you need to breathe. Then you can come back to that breath cycle, breath practice. And you may be feeling this down the thumb side of your arm, through the head of your shoulder. You may also be feeling this down across your chest. And then the other place that people sometimes feel it is behind the shoulder blade, because you are pressing into the ribs, and the ribs, of course, wrap all the way around the body. So you could be moving that entire rib, or more than one, I suppose. So you might feel a stretch of the intercostal muscles, the muscles in between the ribs, all the way on the back. Make sure that you're breathing, that you're not pressing your hand down into the mat. That right hand is relaxed, right arm is relaxed, your head is relaxed. Breathing nice and slow. And keeping it breathable, making sure that there's not too much pressure there, that you're bracing or gritting your teeth or having a stress response to this that you can't work with, can't breathe through. You may be feeling some numbness or tingling in your hand. Totally normal. The pec minor is over a nerve and an artery, so when we get into that, it can compress that muscle, which compresses the nerve and the artery, creates that sensation or lack of sensation in your hand. But as soon as you come out of it, that'll all come back. All right, another deep breath in here. Deep breath out. All right, and then you can take that lacrosse ball out from underneath your shoulder. And we're going to move on to another spot in our chest. So if you follow your collarbone, your clavicle, from that inner junction, that inner joint, out to the middle where it sort of sticks out the most, right below that is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball. And it's going to be the same shape, the same position. It might be even more tender than that first one. So I would definitely take a few breaths just laying on your belly without bringing the knees over to the side first to check in with that. And then after that, we're going to go into the lower pec. So if you find where your bottom ribs are on the front of your body, follow them up until they meet, and then move maybe another 1/2 inch to 1 inch up from that, and then just off to the right of your sternum. That is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball for the lower pec attachments. All right, and I'll say that again once we head there. But for now, finding your collarbone, finding about the midline of your collarbone, and just below that is where you're going to want the lacrosse ball or tennis ball. And then again, arm out to the side, laying flat, maybe having something underneath your head to make you more comfortable. And then if you need more pressure, both knees over to the left. And there's just a lot that attaches to the collarbones. And we're getting into the pec side, the lower side of the collarbone. So we're getting into some of those pectoral attachments. So you may be feeling this again down across your chest. I feel it almost in my armpit, sort of on that most lateral side of my pec. And then I also do feel this one underneath my shoulder blade on the back of my body. Breathing long and slow, allowing your body to be heavy. Noticing if the stillness or the sensation is causing your mind to race or space out, or just what your reaction is in general. And no, there's nothing wrong with that reaction, it's just something that you're noticing, and you can bring yourself back to your breath. You can keep slowing down, both in your breath, in your body, in your mind, allowing your nervous system to match this state of relaxation that you're trying to create. All right, another deep breath in here. Deep breath out. You can roll back onto your belly. And we're going to go into the lower pec attachment now. So again, finding the lowest set of ribs, following it to the middle, and following that up until those ribs come together, right? And then about 1 inch above that, just to the right of your midline. Again, before I lay down on this, about right there. So this is where my ribs come together at this point, about an inch up from that, and then off to the right. And then laying flat here will be your best bet. There's really no need to bring the knees off to the side for this one. It might be nice to have something underneath your head. Then you may feel this up across your chest. You may feel this in the top line of your shoulders. The lower pecs, they fight the traps. So you might be feeling this across that top ridge line of your shoulder, where your upper traps are. This one has a lot of sensation for me. Taking long, slow breaths. Let my face relax, my jaw relax. And being with this kind of sensation, it does take practice. Our minds, our nervous system aren't wired to naturally just be with the discomfort of stretching or getting any other intense therapy in our body or mind, really. And you don't have to pretend that it is pleasant, right? I have already talked about, not needing to label things as good or bad. They just are, right? This just is sensation. But I also don't have to cover it up with humor or a fantasy of it being something that it's not. Discomfort can still be neutral, right? Being uncomfortable isn't necessarily a bad thing. Another deep breath in here. Deep breath out. And you can press yourself up off of that lacrosse ball. It can feel nice to do a little cat and cow, get some movement in the rib cage. You can plant your hands down right underneath your shoulders, inhaling to lower your belly, exhaling to round your spine, maybe jump roping the spine a little bit. All right, and then we will do all of that on the other side. So we'll move this over. All right, so we're going to start with that anterior delt / pec minor point. So finding that pocket of your shoulder, right, where it indents following the rib cage behind the head of your shoulder. So right in that pocket, arm is going to be out to the side. Then we're going to move to midline of the collarbone, and then to the left side of the lower pecs. You can set yourself up again on your belly. Left arm straight out to the left, placing the lacrosse ball where you want it. And then you can lay flat on your belly or move both knees over to the left.
My left side is a little bit tighter than my right. I can feel more sensation here, more stretch through the pec. I'm not feeling it as much in the head of my shoulder, in my anterior delt. It's not really where I hold a lot of my tension. But use your exhales, long and audible, to sigh out any tension. But yeah, discomfort is not necessarily bad, right? There is a lot of our experience that can be kind of uncomfortable. I don't love talking in front of groups of people. I have become comfortable with it through teaching yoga in that specific venue. I don't know what the magic is of the yoga room, but that allows me to feel confident, or I feel confident there. But other venues, not so much. But is that discomfort a bad thing? I don't really think so. And that is just one example of many. The discomfort of being sad. I don't think that that's a bad thing. I can be pretty melancholy sometimes, and it's just a mood. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. And I think we have been trained to say that we're okay more than we are. Right? The acceptable moods are happy and variations of happy. When there are so many more emotions that make the human experience rich. Another deep breath cycle here. Full breath in, full breath out. And when you're finished, you can come off of that lacrosse ball. And then you'll bring it midway, halfway, or the midline of your collarbone, so halfway in between that internal joint and the head of your shoulder, right underneath the collarbone. And then again, arm out to the side. Maybe you stay on your belly for this one. Maybe you, again, bring your knees over to the right. And sounding with your breath again if you need it, or just because it feels good. It's a good enough reason. You can sigh, you can yawn, you can meow, whatever other sound helps you help yourself. You can stay with it until something changes, right? Until the sensation dissipates, until you feel some movement. Part of that training to think that only happy and variations thereof are acceptable emotions is our very automatic and regular dialogue. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Fine. And when someone doesn't respond with, I'm fine, or I'm okay, or I'm good, or I'm happy, or I'm great, it's strange for a moment, right? It's like that honesty isn't expected. But I think the autopilot of that compulsory conversation is damaging, right? Why do we have to say I'm okay or I'm good if I'm not good? And I shouldn't have to feel bad about feeling bad, or I shouldn't feel bad about being sad or anxious or, melancholy. All right, another breath cycle here. And then we'll get into that last one on the front line of the body, getting to those lower pec attachments. So finding midline, feeling where your ribs come together, moving about an inch up from that on the left side, and then laying flat. This time without bringing the knees over to the right. Breathing into that sensation. Whether it's not wanting to think about those basic conversations, or if it's a sense of propriety, or I don't know, not wanting to share how you really feel. I don't know what created that social nicety of having that be the acceptable greeting. But I think we could be more honest, right? I don't think that it would slow down our day or inconvenience us or make us too connected. I don't know, make us feel too connected to other people. If we made that conversation more honest, if we didn't feel like we had to pretend or just go through the motion of it. Scan your body for any places where you may be holding tension. Make sure that your legs are heavy, your glutes are soft. Maybe tune into the feedback of your belly pressing into the mat with every breath. And one more breath cycle. You can come off of that lacrosse ball or tennis ball. Set it aside for a moment. We'll come to a tabletop, get a little bit of motion. Inhale, chest forward, chin up, grip the mat, drag it back towards you. Exhale, press the ground away. Round spine. And come back through neutral. All right, we're going to get into posterior delts and rhomboids. So we're going to start with a stretch for our deltoids. And you're going to come back onto your belly. For this one, you don't need any props. And you'll just walk your right arm underneath the left arm underneath the right, and keep walking your arms away from each other as far as they'll go. And then rest your chin down on your arm. Breathe into the space between your shoulder blades. Keep your neck fully relaxed. It's a little
hard to talk in that stretch. Fully relaxed. And you can try moving the elbows a little farther forward. You can try scooting forward, moving them a little farther underneath your body. And those adjustments will just change the stretch a little bit so you can see what is most therapeutic for you. And we won't be here for terribly long. So strong breaths into your back, out into the heads of your shoulders. And I guess one of the reasons that makes sense to me that is the normal greeting conversation is it's fast, it's convenient. And we, for some reason, have the need to try and fix it a lot of the times if someone says they're sad or tired or grumpy or whatever. So when the conversation goes, "Hi, how are you? I'm grumpy," usually the response is, "Oh, why?" Or, some sort of, "Let me help you not feel that way," or "I'm sorry that you feel that way." When sometimes we're just grumpy and that's not a problem. And that doesn't mean that I don't think people should be empathetic. But we don't always have to treat people's moods as a problem. All right, another full breath cycle, and then you can walk your forearms back onto the mat. Sphinx pose, gripping the mat, drag it back towards you. Open the collarbones. So really pull the shoulder blades together on your back. And then we'll take the other side. Left arm underneath the right. Right arm crosses over. Try and not squish this thingy. All right, here we go. Walk your arms away from each other. Allow your chin to fully relax. Allow your breath to fill your rib cage in every cycle. There's a term, holding space, and I think it gets talked a lot about in yoga classes and meditation and spiritual practices, how to hold space for someone else. And that just means giving that person room and a container to feel what they feel, to be however they are, without trying to fix it or change it or judge it as right or wrong. And I know I said just a few times. It's not an easy practice. But I think that it can become easy. All right, one more full breath cycle on this side. And then we can come out of this shape, walking ourselves into Sphinx pose again. Gripping the mat, drag it back towards you. You can press it down through your hips, create some stability for your lower back by creating that engagement. Then drag the mat back towards you. Shoulder blades squeeze together on your back. Inhale. Exhale. And while we're here, let's take the right ear over towards the right shoulder. Get some space on the left side of your neck. Breath in. Breath out, chin to chest. Stay for a breath in. Breath out, left ear towards left shoulder. Breath in. Breath out, chin to chest. All right, lift your gaze back up. And we're going to get into that posterior delt trigger point. So you will need your bolster for this one. And I'll do my left side first. And this one also can be pretty bony and pretty sensitive, so use your tennis ball or something softer than a lacrosse ball if that is your experience. If you reach over your shoulder and feel that top edge of your shoulder blade, and that ridge line will come all the way out to the head of your shoulder, right? So follow that out towards your shoulder, and then right below that bone, you'll sort of pop your fingers over the bone. Right below that, there is a muscle pad, and that is where we're going to get into. That is posterior delt trigger point. So right on that back of the shoulder. Another way to find that same point is find where your armpit ends, that armpit crease ends, and then maybe a half an inch above that is where you'll want the lacrosse ball. All right, so using something pretty stable underneath your head. So if you don't have a bolster, a floppy pillow isn't going to work. Maybe something like a bunch of stacked up blankets, because you're going to put your head on that bolster and that'll create space for your shoulder. So your head isn't coming towards the ground. And then you're going to lay fully on your side, having that lacrosse ball where you want it, and then arm parallel with the bolster. And I think I'm going to grab a tennis ball for myself on this one. It's kind of a bony spot on me. All right, that's a lot better. And then you may feel this across the entire cap of your shoulder. I feel a little bit like the head of my shoulder is going to explode. I also feel tension down all the way to my thumb. And make sure your head is fully relaxed. Make sure you're not pressing the ground away, or especially with that arm that you're working on, that arm should be fully floppy, like it could fall right off your body. Slow, long breaths. Scanning your body for sensation. So of course you'll notice where you're trigger pointing right now. What else do you notice? What's going on in your feet and your ankles and your knees and your hips? And do you need to be padded anywhere else? You can always get more support, a blanket between your knees, a blanket underneath your hips, something between your ankles. Propping yourself is like a massage for your nervous system. It helps your body to relax on that energetic level. All right, another breath in, another breath out. And you can come off of that lacrosse ball or tennis ball, and you can always stay for longer. If you're not ready to move on, just pause the video. And we'll set right up for the other side. So again, following that top line of the shoulder blade as it comes out, and then moving down right below that sort of ridge of the shoulder blade, or finding your armpit crease, moving just above that, maybe at 1/2 inch, and that is where you'll want the lacrosse ball. Laying on your side, placing the lacrosse ball, rolled away. Placing the lacrosse ball or tennis ball where you want it. And softening into it. And it may take several breaths for you to fully relax. It may take several minutes for you to fully relax. But give yourself that time. Keep scanning your body. Keep using your breath. It is a constant engagement with the practice to help you soften into the shapes. The sensation for me right now is pretty sharp. There must be a band right where I'm at that is extra tight. I'm feeling it actually up the side of my neck into my scalenes a little bit. But it's slowly dissipating. I'm letting my rib cage get heavier. I'm checking back in with my legs, making sure I'm not pressing away or squeezing my legs together. Letting my head fully relax. And already it is a lot less sharp for me. And social interaction can be something that generates nervousness. I am certainly not always comfortable in social situations. Not really a crowds person. I don't like a lot of people at once. Pretty good one-on-one. So again, that automatic dialogue, hi, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? It's easy, right? It takes the surprise or the guesswork out of it. When you're nervous, it's something that you can just go to. But you can also step into the edge of that social discomfort. And in that way, connect more fully with whoever it is that you're talking to. I just rolled my tennis ball slightly medial, slightly back, following that same fiber, and renewed the sharpness of sensation. I'm feeling it really down into the point of my deltoid, and yeah, still down into my thumb. There we go. Starting to relax. All right, take one more full breath cycle here. And then you can come off of that lacrosse ball, come up to a seat. And if you need to do little eagle arms or touch opposite shoulders, lift the elbows up. That's a good move. And then we'll do that rhomboid trigger point. So rhomboid, the muscle that pulls the shoulder blades back and together. So fighting the pecs that are bringing the arms in medially and shoulders forward. So about halfway down your shoulder blade, just to the inside of that shoulder blade is where you're going to want it. So here is the bottom point of my shoulder blade. So I'll move up from there about halfway up. That's where I'm going to want the lacrosse ball, close into that inner edge, so in between the shoulder blade and the spine. I'm going to switch back to my lacrosse ball for this one. And then place the lacrosse ball where you want it, and you can always put it on the ground and then roll around until it's in the right spot. And I like to drape my arm across my body. For this one, it's on my right side, so I'm doing my right side first. You can do either side. Doesn't matter which one you start with. And then I'm resting my arm across my body. And that just helps to open the shoulder blade up a little bit and really get into that edge, into that attachment of the rhomboid. And if you go slightly above midline, you'll still be in rhomboid. There's rhomboid major, rhomboid minor, two different muscles of that muscle, different fibers of that muscle. So you can always explore there, move it up a little bit. If you keep moving it up, you'll be in levator, that muscle that lifts the shoulder. So those are all good spots to work with. And do what feels right for you. You should be feeling something, right? You're not just laying here for no reason. So feeling a therapeutic amount of sensation, but not feeling too much and not feeling not enough. And you don't have to rest with your arm across your body. Your arm can rest out to the side. I just find that to not be as effective for me. Nor above my head, really across the body is what works best for me or gives me the most sensation. All right, one more full breath cycle here. And then you can come off of that lacrosse ball. And we'll move right into the other side. So you can place the lacrosse ball or tennis ball where you want it. If you need to roll around a little bit to get it there, do it. This one is, again, tighter than the other side. So I'm sending my arm up in the air and letting the shoulder plug back into the socket. And then I'll rest my arm across my body. Coming back to some sighing breaths, some open mouth exhales. You can stick out your tongue, horse flutter your lips. Really let your body get heavy here. Feeling the weight of your bones settle back towards the mat. And if you find that your mind is especially wily or just flitting from thing to thing, but really grasping to those things, and being a distraction, keep that body scan constant. With every inhale, draw your attention all the way from the soles of your feet, slowly up to the crown of your head, and with every exhale, all the way from the crown of your head down to the soles of your feet. So that every breath cycle, you're checking in to see if you're holding on anywhere, if you've let go anywhere. It's a good way to notice if anything has changed. I'm getting a twitch underneath the lacrosse ball. Well, just lateral of the lacrosse ball, really. That is my muscle trying to let go, so the muscle is sort of kicking in protest, but it's starting to relax. Just other things you might experience is muscles twitching or moving against the pressure, and I find that means they're about to give up. All right, one more full breath cycle here, and then you can come off of that lacrosse ball and come back up to a seat. And then finally, we're going to get into our traps, upper traps. So traps are big muscles running all the way down the back of your neck, out across to the head of your shoulder, and then they cut down on a diagonal and hook in all throughout the mid-back and sort of come down to a point. So working with the upper traps, you can have the lacrosse ball anywhere from out closer to the head of your shoulder all the way in to C7, right next to C7, right next to the base of your cervical spine, and anywhere in between. I generally start with the lacrosse ball in the very middle, in that medius part of the muscle, and then I'll work my way in towards the neck. So you can explore anywhere along that top ridge line of the shoulder, but you can pinch that top muscle, and then you're going to go behind the muscle. And then we'll lay down. I'll do my right side first. Lay down, place the lacrosse ball behind that top muscle so I can really push into my skin, into the lacrosse ball, or into my muscle, into that lacrosse ball. So it's behind that upper trap. And then once I have it where I want it, you can lace your hands together and let your elbows open up. If that is too much for you, grab a prop to put underneath your elbow. So for example, you can grab a blanket or a bolster and have your elbow supported so it doesn't go all the way to the ground, and that'll take some of the stretch out of it. And then legs can be however they are comfortable. Feet together, knees wide, legs extended, feet wide, knees together. And then breathe into that sensation, allowing yourself to move into sensation, using your breath as a tool to allow you to stay here. And check in with the muscles of your face, the muscles around your eyes, allowing all of that to soften and relax. And also know that if you do choose to be honest with your responses to the how are you question, you don't have to give more, right? don't have to give any explanation if you don't want to. You don't have to feel guilty for feeling that way. You certainly shouldn't feel guilty for having a feeling. And it doesn't have to be a longer conversation just because you're not feeling good. And I think that if we all were a little more honest about our mood, our emotional state, how we're feeling energetically or energy wise, right? Sometimes we're exhausted, sometimes we are over caffeinated. All of those different states of being. If we were just a little more honest about that, I think it would normalize the range of emotion, right? It wouldn't be so strange or so surprising when someone answers, I'm feeling grumpy. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling lonely. Because these are just as valid and just as much a part of the human experience as feeling excited or joyful or good. All right, take another full breath cycle here. And then you can switch to the other side. Placing the lacrosse ball anywhere along that top ridge line of the shoulder behind the muscle, so maybe farther out towards the head of the shoulder, maybe farther in towards the spine. Anywhere along that path is good. And then lacing your hands behind your head, letting your elbows open up. And if this is too much, even with the blanket behind your head, unlace your hands and just cactus your arms. So elbows are still out to the side, but fingers are pointing the same direction as the crown of your head. And for me, halfway, the middle of that muscle isn't really doing a lot, so I'm going to bring it a little closer in towards my neck. See how that does. And that is better for me on this side. Check in with your jaw, make sure that you're not clenching your teeth or pressing your tongue into the backs of your teeth or the roof of your mouth, let all of that soften. If you do have your feet planted, do try and knock your knees together, or at least make sure you're not pressing into your feet or creating a bunch of effort there. And you can always have a bolster or something underneath your knees. If having your legs fully extended doesn't feel good, you can just prop the backs of your knees, and that often is more comfortable. Full of comfort. as always, you are welcome to stay here for longer or explore that full length of the muscle body all the way out from the head of the shoulder in towards the spine and towards the neck. If you're ready to move on, you can come out of it. And then if you have more time and want to do something else or rest in a shavasana, resting in a heart opener would be good, either resting over blocks or resting over a bolster. And I'll just demo that and then I'm going to come back out of it. But if you want a really big heart opener, you can have your block up on the highest level. Second block also at the highest level underneath your head. And then resting like that. And the blocks can be at any level. They can be on the medium level, they can be on the lowest level. But resting in some sort of heart opener would be nice here. So you can take time in that, but if you're ready to move on with your day, you can come back up to a seat. Bring your thumb to your pinky to the base of your thumb, your ring finger to that middle knuckle of the thumb, and then middle finger to the pad of the thumb. I think I said that right. And then pointer finger is the only one that is extended here. You can rest your hands down on your legs this time. Make sure the shoulders are rolled back and down, sternum is lifted, pressing down actively through the sit bones, really taking advantage of all that space that we've created across the chest. Keep the breath slow and smooth. Notice how your body's feeling. And may our time spent in practice help strengthen both our breath and our resolve to be who we are in every moment. Letting go of any guilt or fear of feeling exactly how we feel. Deep breath in together. Big breath out. Thank you for coming to your mats, for spending time on yourself, spending time in self-care and self-awareness, participating in the greater yogic community. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, want to see anything specific from these videos. And as always, until next time, I hope you can let something go.